Welcome to the Tough Decisions Network for Entrepreneurs. I'm Dennae Handford, and my wife, Dennae, and I interview successful people sharing stories behind tough decisions that they've had to make along their journey as an entrepreneur. On the podcast with us today is Marc Mawhinney. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Hi, Marc. We really appreciate you coming on and looking forward to talking with you. We would love for you to get us started and just tell our audience a little bit about your background, who you are, and where your focus is right now as an entrepreneur.
Sure. So I'm the easiest way to put it, I'm a coach, but I'm a coach who coaches coaches. Whenever I say that to someone, they look at me like I have two heads. But essentially, I'm a business coach, and that's who I'm helping. I'm helping other coaches get more clients. And my background's actually in real estate. I did that throughout my 20s for about a decade, and now I've been coaching for about 5 years. So on the east coast of Canada, I'm in the beautiful province of New Brunswick and having fun doing business online.
You were referred to me from somebody else that I know, I think based out of Charlotte, that connected you and I together. So it's nice to kind of see people just really creating a network, kind of connecting people and stuff like that. I love that piece of it. I know that you have had a lot of tough decisions along your journey as an entrepreneur and even in real estate, and also what you're doing right now at the business coaching. So I like to start us off with one that I call the sore thumb tough decision. It's a tough decision that sticks out in your mind at all the time whenever somebody talks about a decision gone wrong. You know, it's one of those decisions, though, that you're glad you went through because it helps you kind of shape and bring where you are now. And so can you talk to us about that sore thumb tough decision that you've had to go through that had not a so good outcome and some of the lessons you learned through it?
Yeah, I mean, the one that really stands out for me would be, it was made shortly before I opened up my own real estate brokerage in January of 2009. So I'd been in business for, almost 9 years, and I decided to go off on my own. And beginning of 2009, I put this big push on, started my own company, my own real estate business. I built it up to 100 agents and employees, had a couple different office spaces, and everything was going great until it wasn't. Just everything collapsed August of 2009. And that really wasn't a decision. I didn't have a decision in the closure, just ran out of money with it to simplify it. And it worked out really well now, looking back almost a decade later, because I wouldn't be talking with you two had that not happened. And I'm much happier with coaching than I was with real estate. But yeah, that was a very difficult time. I always say you learn more in those difficult periods than you do in the good times, because I had almost a decade of nonstop success, but I learned more in that year with the business closure than I did in the previous 10 years.
Well, and through that business closure, are there some things that maybe in retrospect that you might have been able to, been aware of that kind of maybe mitigated that?
Well, I mean, you play Monday morning quarterback, you always look back and see things. First thing, I could have hired a coach. That probably wouldn't have hurt. So I'd been approached. I didn't really know what coaching was back then. And I'd been approached by several. And of course, me being in my 20s, kind of young, full of piss and vinegar, thinking I knew everything. I'm like, why would I need a coach? I'm doing great. And then everything came crashing down. So I'm not saying that wouldn't have happened if I had a coach, but things would have worked out differently, or it wouldn't have been as painful if I'd actually had the coach at that time. It's what I've learned. And this is a book I'll recommend for anyone going through difficult decisions and tough times. The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday is an amazing book. And what that book basically shows me every time I go back to it is that, Marcus Aurelius said the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes a way. And I've seen that with my own journey that it's true. So the obstacle is the way.
Well, and as a business coach, I'm sure, like you said, that 1 year or 2 years that you had to close that business, you learned quite a bit. What are some things that you teach your business coaching students or mentees, if you will, that you learned maybe through that time period to maybe help their businesses as they move forward as well? Well,
one of the big things I teach coaches is the power of consistency, which I guess was something that was ingrained in me through the whole decade in real estate. In that business, you have to be consistent to get clients coming in. So that's really helped me. And that's something I pass along to the coaches that I'm helping as well. So from the actual, I say the dark period was in the wilderness there after the closure, so many lessons. I mean, one of them is not to be pessimistic, but be realistic what could happen. So I think the issue I had was I was a typical entrepreneur. You know, the entrepreneurs that have the rose-colored glasses on. We could take on the world. we're thinking of that poster with the little kitten hanging off the clothesline, hang in there. And we think that quitting is bad, but actually quitting is sometimes the right move because it's not the right thing you should be doing rather than hanging on longer than you should. And that's what I tell people nowadays. There's no shame in pivoting and changing. If it's not working out, you're not happy, you're miserable, don't cling on to whatever it is that you're clinging on to.
So, Marc, I think you hit on something that I've noticed in entrepreneurs, and you're exactly right, is that it can be a gift, which is, this ability to see a vision when no one else sees anything, but it can be a lot of times what I would say unrealistic. So how do you help yourself, find that balance between, optimism and having a vision and goals and finding a realistic place to set those goals?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough thing because if you go too far either way, you're either being unrealistic with those rose-colored glasses or you're being negative and pessimistic the other way. So that's a great question. I think for me, and I know this isn't highly scientific or anything, but I use my gut and my instinct, and it's gotten better now. I just turned 40, so I've been in business about 20 years. It's gotten better over that time that if something doesn't feel right, then I don't do it. And that's something that's changed with me compared to the past when I would just rush in full steam ahead and do whatever once I made a decision. So as an entrepreneur, you get a better feel for things the longer you've been at it. But my broker in real estate told me something which still applies today. If you're in business, you're going to get beat up and you have to get beat up some. So you can't kind of hide back and try not to make any mistakes. I actually view people who've gone through business closures and failures and stuff, that's actually a good thing because it shows that they're taking risks and it shows that they're not afraid to try something new. I have more respect for someone like that than someone who's never failed, because someone who's never failed probably hasn't stepped outside their comfort zone or tried anything different.
And so let's transition here now and talk about a tough decision that you've had to make that had a really good and positive outcome and some of the lessons you learned through that.
Well, tough decision would have been early 2014 when I started my coaching business, because I was coming off, I had the business closure in real estate in 2009. I had another real estate business I shut down in 2012 and got out of it altogether. I said, I'm done with real estate. And I ended up getting a sales gig with a telecommunications company here in Canada. It was a great sales job. I worked from home. I had no manager breathing down my neck, super flexible, just it wasn't my passion. But I had a period of time there that I was working with the telecommunications company, and everyone that I knew was like, wow, what a great sales job. And, the pay wasn't bad and flexibility and everything else. And I decided to launch my coaching business, which I know that there were some people thinking, oh, gee, should you be doing that since you've gone through this business closure previously? Maybe you should play it safe. And it's kind of like in baseball. In baseball, there's some batters when they get hit in the noggin, they get hit in the head, they're never the same again, because every time they're waiting for a pitch to come from the mound at 95 miles an hour, they're thinking that could hit me in the head. Other batters, it doesn't seem to affect them as much. They push ahead and they continue playing and doing their best. Me, I didn't let getting hit in the head, figuratively speaking, change. I didn't want it to take away that risk-taking nature that I have, that I've always had with it, that I'm still going to go out there, I'm going to take risks. I'm just going to be smarter about it.
Talk to us a little bit about some of the strategies that you use when you are facing a difficult decision.
One of them, and I can't recall, I want to say it was Benjamin Franklin that did this, but it's the old pros and cons. You take a piece of paper, draw a line straight down the middle, left side are the pros, right side are the cons, and you just take any emotion out of it and you just write down whatever good and bad could happen from it. And then you step back and you take a look at that sheet and you see how it looks. That's something that sounds extremely simplistic, I know, but it's something I think that's really powerful. So I'll do that when I'm facing a decision. Now, it's a bigger decision. If I'm going to Subway and I have to decide between a BLT or a chicken sub, I'm not doing that. It's for the bigger business decisions, but it works well.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will talk to Marc about some of his favorites as it relates to his life as an entrepreneur.
Have you ever thought about investing in real estate, but find yourself so busy that you don't have time for it? Do you have FOMO, which is the fear of missing out? At HanfordCapital.com, we help investors with passive real estate investments that project better returns than traditional investment vehicles such as the stock market. If you'd like to find out more about our passive real estate investments, visit handfordcapital.com. That's HANDFORD capital.com. We will jump on a call with you to discuss your investment goals and to see if our investments are a good fit for you. This advertisement is not to be construed as an offer or recommendation to buy or sell a security. Visit handfordcapital.com. All right, we are back with Marc Mawhinney, and we are going to go through a series of quick questions and answers that we call the trifecta, Marc. And I want you to start it off by telling us about your most favorite technology that you use in business that helps make your life easier every day.
I would say it's my Audible app on my phone to listen to audiobooks. I love it.
I love that one too. That's a great one. We haven't heard that one yet.
And actually, here's a little tip to listen at 2x speed. And when somebody recommended it to me, I said, that's nuts. They're going to sound like chipmunks. Your brain gets used to it. So now I can't listen at 1x, like normal speed. It has to be 2x. Right. I could plow through a 10-hour book in 5 hours that way. So I think it's great.
What's a favorite quote that you've heard that has helped you as an entrepreneur?
Well, the one that I mentioned earlier from Marcus Aurelius would be the best one. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. I've got that taped right in front of me here in my home office. So that would be one of my big ones.
And a favorite book that you've read that's helped you make better decisions?
Well, besides The Obstacles Away by Ryan Holiday, that people are going to think that this show's been sponsored by Ryan Holiday. I like the book. One really big one, which I recommend every entrepreneur read, and it's probably my favorite, is Thick Face, Black Heart by Chin-Ning Chu. And that book is just incredible. It's an amazing book. So Thick Face, Black Heart by Chin-Ning Chu.
Well, what's the next thing for you right now on your vision or your dream board, Marc?
Well, I'm starting to do a lot more speaking. So I'm actually, as we're recording this, I'm heading down to Charlotte, North Carolina here next week. And then I've got a couple other speaking engagements in Toronto and all over the place. So I haven't focused on speaking the first 5 years because I've been so busy building the other things with my coaching business. But now I'm ready to, get out more often. And I've done 1 or 2 speaking gigs a year, but I'm ready to do more now. So that's going to be a big part of my business going forward.
Well, how can the listeners reach out to you if they want to connect with you or follow you more?
The best spot is naturalborncoaches.com. And also I have a Facebook group with, there's over 15,000 coaches in there. It's called The Coaching Jungle. And I'm in there every day. It's thecoachingjungle.com.
And we'll make sure we put links to those various platforms on the show notes, which can be found at toughdecisions.net. Thank you so much, Marc, for taking some time out of your busy schedule to be with us here today. You've provided a lot of good, what I like to call golden nuggets throughout. And so thank you so much. Look forward to continuing to follow you and look forward to having you on a future episode as you continue to grow as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Tough Decisions Network. Be sure to visit toughdecisions.net to gain access to show notes for this episode and to join our free weekly entrepreneur email where we will send you news about the latest technology for your business, inspiring quotes, and the latest books for entrepreneurs. That's toughdecisions.net.